Folks, welcome back to the show where it's not about last week's blog post. It's not about this week's preview. It is always about next week's episode. And tonight, we are talking about the season 3 finale of The Mandalorian, one of the craziest seasons that we've had in any recent show, especially with some of the reactions going on. So let's get our king of reactions over here, Jake, Micah, your friend, my friend, Jake, Micah, and Micah. Another season of The Mandalorian has come and gone, and you can't help but feel again it was too much too soon.
Yeah, man. Like this is like I want 8 more episodes now. Like that could have been they could have easily done some way. I think a lot of people would have been happy, honestly, if this was like somehow the second episode of the season and they did a lot of other stuff. But for me, it was the perfect kind of culmination to everything we've been building towards. It was shorter than I thought. Did you think it was only going to be? It was only like 41 minutes, I think, of runtime, or 43 minutes or something like that.
To find only 41 minutes, especially I tweeted out before the episode, these finales, whether you like or love these series, Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, Mando, the finales have always delivered. So I was very interested, very surprised that it was short, a little bit of a shorter episode going in. But real quick, before we get started on anything, did you like the episode?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy it. Started off, honestly, not how I expected to start. Started off hot, though, and it really just kind of kept through the whole time. I wish they kind of did spend more time. I feel like there are some plot points that could have been explored a little bit. But, hey, we know that this is not, like, the end of any of this grand storytelling we're getting into around here. Maybe there's some stuff going forward, but maybe not. I don't know. It was a really interesting way they kind of did it because it felt like there was a lot of like resolution, like tying bows of different things in this episode. But I liked it. And I think that it gave people a lot of what they were looking for with Mando kind of doing his thing. He was doing his thing the whole episode, really.
Mando was doing his thing the whole episode. I'll actually start on that point. But real quick, we're in the baseball season. I would say that this episode was like a pitcher going 6 innings, like 3 earned is what I would say. It was just enough for a quality start. It was just at the threshold where I would say, yes, I did like it. But I got to start off with one thing very first here. And this is what I'm not happy on.
Uh-oh.
If you're Moff Gideon, this guy, Mando, has terrorized you. He's been basically the ultimate thorn in your side and everything. And you're sending him down a corridor with 2 nubs? Just expecting for everything to be fine. I mean, that was literally like out of Austin Powers when they're like, "Oh no, Scott, I'm just gonna look the other way and assume everything went perfectly to plan." Like, no, dude, like that was bad. Like, I'm sorry, it was, and I.
But it's the same thing the New Republic did too. We were talking about it with letting Moff Gideon go. How did he? So they're both, but both of them are valid. Like, what are you guys doing? You are.
I agree. I mean, yeah, Moff Gideon definitely doesn't have the the mid-tier management that the New Republic has it there, but it just felt like they're like, and this is, and I talked about my dad with this. I always talk about the episodes with my father, but and he made a great point. It was just like last week, Mando getting like corralled the way he did was supposed to feel like a big deal. And then it's instantly just undone at the start of this episode. So I'm not going to make it, because this is basically my only issue with it, because Grogu somehow comes and saves the day down that thing. And we'll get into the spoilers, obviously, of the episode here. But yeah, that was my only real crazy thing. So then you got R5 stepping up.
No, I was just gonna say I don't blame you. Because it was crazy. The fact, like, we spent, how long did we spend last week? Just like, oh, what's it gonna be? What's the briefing room gonna be like? How is it gonna? And then it was like, oh, really? Like 2 seconds in? Yeah.
Yes,
it was ridiculous.
It was absolutely ridiculous. It was just, Mando should have pulled a what if when Ultron just like absolutely laced Thanos right when he walked in. That's what he should have done to Mando. But Moff Gideon not getting it done. So he starts to escape, and Moff Gideon, like, I don't know what his deal is, because he's just kind of all over the place with his emotions sometimes, but he sees them escaping, him and Grogu, and he's like kind of okay with it. Did you pick up that vibe when he was in the control room?
Yeah. I don't really know what he that's my biggest question of this episode, is what was he doing? What was the end game for him in this scenario? Because it didn't seem like he got that far. It seemed like he was just kind of like, haha, I got you guys. Look at me. I'm on Mandalore. And then that was it. Like, that was
yes. So someone put that Moff Gideon has big time if I can't play Mandalorian, nobody can energy. Like where it's just like
he kind of take his ball and go home. He was
absolutely like when things started like kind of like going against him, and we started to see things going against him when obviously Din Djarin, we have a great scene. It's kind of a New Hope-esque with Din asking R5 to clear up. What are those called? Like the laser walls, the laser blockers or whatever.
Yeah.
But I saw this online. Din Wick. Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, he was literally battling
his Daredevil hallway scene, if you want to go that way too.
You know what I also said? So Daredevil hallway scene, and I also said it was kind of like the reverse of episode 1, because in episode 1, Obi-Wan has to go like basically 1 or 2 at a time, just walking and waiting. Whereas on this one, Din's literally fighting everyone like in each like increment just to get a little bit further. So it was kind of the opposite. Thought that was very cool. You know, the only, and if this is a small complaint, I'm not going to be, but you know, like obviously they all have Beskar armor at this point. That was the big selling. It was a little odd, like, you know, because if he's taken out as like 20th like Beskar trooper, I'm like, well, what's like really the difference? He's just getting point blank and shooting them all in the chin, like.
Or why like, yeah, I don't know. It was a strange thing. It felt like give credit to my brother on this. He's been saying it all season. A lot of these missions have just felt like video game levels where you're like doing like your little side. They have one conversation. That's what that felt like. It felt like a video game thing where you just like press X to tell R5 to open the next thing, and then you go through, you fight your little wave and do that. That's what it felt like to me. It was cool. I mean, it was dope, and just showing like that was the moment people have been wanting, right? Like Mando just being a badass, and he took him out. It wasn't even like there was no pressing. Like it,
you know what you got me thinking sweating. Of is Halo, like the second, like one of the missions when you gotta take out a bunch of Covenant, then you got to get the light bridge, then you go across the light bridge, you got to take out a bunch of Covenant, then you get another light bridge. It's the same thing as the thing. So R5 obviously getting his moment to shine.
And how about one last thing? The R5 moment is just great because you're sitting there with Din Djarin, who hated droids, and he's yelling at R5 to do this stuff, and he's got another droid manning his ward there, Grogu, and they're going together. It's like he's literally surrounded by droids on this mission. This is incredible.
That's growth. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. The Legend of Din Djarin, for sure. So we kind of get Gideon, the ultimate deviator, in 2 ways. First off, he's got the clones. So this is where when I was talking with my dad, he and again, this goes into the episode being 41 minutes. This goes into some of the rhetoric we've seen behind the scenes. This felt like a little bit of a mess.
Yeah,
it was just kind of a little bit all over the place. And then when they're in the clone chamber, which is after like the laser walls or whatever, before the control room, it's like Grogu's looking at him, and like they almost did like the Jurassic Park scene where the raptor like moves behind the thing. But nobody said anything about like, oh, we're gonna blow up these all right now because these clones can't be let live. It was just like, hey, we're getting out of here. And then they like all exploded. So I don't know what was happening with that scene. Were you a little askew there?
I didn't even, I was like, I had no idea what the heck was going on at first. And I was like, are they going to like leave? I honestly thought they were going to get separated. I figured, you know, Din's walking too far away from Grogu. There's going to be some like trap wall or something that falls. And that's where we get this like, you know, showdown or whatever. But to me, it was really confusing. And there was no like, I don't know. I don't remember that. I don't think there was any conversation about this clone room unless Din just like happened upon it and was like, oh, look at all these Moff Gideon clones. Let me just take my little detour here and take them all out. Like, I don't know. Unless we're missing something, I don't remember that context ever being brought up. I remember him mentioning like what they've been working on and the clones and everything. But the fact that it was like right there, I don't remember that.
No, that you definitely are not like led on. Okay. And by the way, I mean, last episode we saw him walk by the laser shields or whatever, and we didn't see the clones, did we? No,
definitely not.
I think we saw him at a different point in the episode. I don't know. I'm losing that, but it was just very odd. It was very interesting. So again, this goes to Gideon, the ultimate DV. He's got the clones of himself, so he's basically trying to make a big army of Gideons or whatever. And then he kind of has this, you know, this monologue that he starts off when Mando kind of gets to him where he's pissed, like his evil guy monologue.
Yeah. This was the video game monologue right here. When you get to the villain, you don't think you're popping off on him in the room yet. And then you see him there, you're like, oh shit. And he's already ready. Yeah. That was this.
And even more video game-esque, he starts fighting him and he starts kind of beating him. And what happens in a video game? A couple of cronies come by while the big guy runs away. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was just totally what was going on. Now while this is all going on, interwoven in it, we have Bo-Katan Kryze leading the other Mandos who obviously escaped thanks to our guy Paz Vizsla, R.I.P. Paz.
Yep.
With that said, so they go to the caverns, and I guess the big deal and the big takeaway here is that we're supposed to see like Mandalorian is flush, like Mandalore is flush, like you can absolutely habitat it, like it was all a rumor basically.
Well, how about when they got the reinforcements? We can take some credit for this season, but we were down on the armor and she came through. That was like my favorite moment of the thing. I see armor, she's coming through with the hammer, like Miss Kryze or whatever she said, Bo-Katan Kryze, we're coming through. Whatever she said, that was like the on your left.
Kryze.
Yeah,
yes.
I was like,
we gotta start like that. And again, that's the other thing that's huge in the MandoVerse. I know a lot of people were expecting like Sabine to be in this season, who is Bo-Katan's sister in the Clone Wars, who was a prominent figure. But I think that's an interesting arc that definitely can be explored in the MandoVerse. But yeah, so they go on. Armorer turns out to be a good person, which again, it would have been a little bit too much of a swerve, I guess, now looking back on it, for the Armorer to be like evil. Like she basically was down for like the count with everything, being in the caves, being in everything. She could have ditched at any point. But the other Mandos, again, obviously get to this kind of safe haven before we are able to kind of begin our attack on the base, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now this is where it really starts, right? The Axe Woves redemption arc. What we've seen this guy in the series, he's just kind of been quiet and underspoken in the background. He took, control of the Mandos from Bo-Katan, so he gets a little bit like almost like put in a dark light. But I felt like in this episode, he absolutely dominated for the Mandos, plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, every option, like I was wondering, anytime he came up on the screen, I was like, is this the moment where he's like, fuck
yeah, oh, dude, I was waiting every time, dude.
Every time. When he was with the ship?
When he, you know what it was? When he cleared everyone off of the ship, I really thought like he was about to do some shit, for sure.
Yeah, but no, I was like, what do you want this ship for? Like, what's your plan? Like, what are you going to try to do? Nope. The whole way through. And I know you were talking about some stats being put up by the people on the ground. I got to give Axe Wolves, you know what this is? This is like that 8 for 11 performance off the bench. This is that Rui Hachimura. I was gonna say Axe is Austin Reeves or Rui.
Yes,
that's what he was today.
100%, dude. Because bro, it comes in, and I was expecting him to go full like kamikaze with it. Shoots out the window and just jets out. What a baller! That
was a baller move. He waited till the last possible second too.
Baller. It was awesome. But yes, and then in the meantime, we have. I mean, you had to be worried when you saw, but I mean, Grogu getting isolated in an ISO D with the Praetorians. I mean,
yeah, not great. I did think he'd have a little more fighting ability with the IG, but he had no fighting. He was backing up. No mobility. You realize how quickly Grogu had no idea what he was doing with that thing. But
he was doing the stanky leg.
This is the thing about his 50-point game is it started out as just like steady. Like he only had like 12.
He had 10.
Like it was a good
10
game
through like in the second quarter. Like
cruising along. You thought he'd have a good game. You thought you were expecting a good game, maybe a great game, and then he just kept coming. Like he just kept coming. And in this scenario, though, the fact that he was even able to evade them for as long as he was without and buying any amount of time for himself was like. That's what we've been waiting for from Grogu. Like that's all anybody I feel like is needed is to just see this little I'm him moment from Grogu and get away from these guards. And he didn't even need to do everything that he did. And he was the fact that he survived was the amazing thing after you saw him using that droid. I was like, oh, he's going to be fine. He's going to put on a scrap. He's going to do some shit.
Oh, dude,
and then you see him like stumbling over.
Like left and right. Like it was absolutely done right away. The Praetorians had a great plan of attack for the IG-12.
They did for Grogu, but all right. So you keep going. Yeah, they had an okay plan for Grogu. They did. The Praetorians,
you know what it was?
You
know what this was to me, actually, now that I think about it? Them chasing Grogu was kind of like when again, staying on the baseball theme, is like when you reach out with a tag to like try and tag the runner and they go like around or like, like something like that. Like just keep the tag. All they had to do was wait by the door. Like Grogu had nowhere to go. He was just going to sit there the whole time. Like, I mean, and by the way, Moff Gideon, didn't he want Grogu alive? Like I was a little confused with that, but I guess at that point it was just, let's take out all the Mandalorians.
Moff was just done. Once the 30 other Moffs or however many were gone. He was beside himself. He had no thing. And how they better the one plot point, and we didn't mention it before when we talked about Moff, the fact that his plan, and we talked about it a little bit last episode, I guess, about the Mandalorians with force sensitivity, and that's what he's trying to isolate and everything. If that's what we're going to be going forward, it's going to be really interesting to see, like, what is this process that they're doing? And is that what Grogu, like, the biggest thing about Grogu is? If that's why he's so important. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like that we can't just forget about that little thing that he was saying there, what he was trying to do with the First Order, keeping all that in mind.
Seriously. No, it was very interesting how what Moff Gideon could have taken or could have accomplished. But we obviously see he goes head to head with Mando, Bo-Katan. It's a great fight. They're battling, and then obviously that's when Axe Woves drops the ship, and Gideon meets a Gus Fring fate. They're both absolutely burned to a crisp, basically.
Yeah, that was tough. He embraced it though. He was ready.
He did. He was like, it was kind of like, how dare you like ruin my plans? Like he went out like he lived.
Like when the Emperor got tossed over, he was whining. Like he went out like a baby. He was crying. Oh no! Like Moff was like, what? Yeah, I like that.
Yes, I agree. He was defiant in defeat. I like that for sure. Okay, so then we have a lot going on, and let's start with our favorite one. The New Republic is useless because basically they did nothing. And basically Mando put off the Empire returning for at least another day here, while the Republic had their bureaucratic thumbs up their butts.
Do you think they knew what was going on and just were like,
hell no, they had no clue. No, they're clueless.
They found out after the fact, and that's when Carson was
they're
like,
working
"Oh
on
man,
thank God for that dude." Program. Yeah. Carson Teva's like, these guys are idiots. Like Carson Teva is like when you like reach that customer service rep at a company, and he's like, I don't even know what they're doing here. Like they screwed you over big time. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's kind of like that. And then so Mando uses, obviously, at least he got something out of it, because I was like, wow, Mando's going to be like kind of a contractor for the New Republic, and that was actually the word he used. But yeah, I mean, that'll definitely, before we get too much into season 4, potential MandoVerse, I mean, there's a lot of potential with that for sure.
Was there anything else you want to say about this episode? Because I do have one more thing.
Oh yeah, no, of course, there's a couple more things.
Oh, okay. I thought this was your last.
No. We got first off, because then we go back to Ragnar, where the season began with Ragnar getting his Mando baptism, and they're actually at the waters of Mandalore, right?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Pretty epic. And then even more epic, Din Grogu. Did you have a little tear?
They were. Oh, I was gonna say they were onions getting cut all the way up through here. Honestly, that whole last ending was just so great. Like like everything you wanted, like from the season, just joy, and then the emotions, and everything else. But this part, it was. I really thought we were gonna. Did you think we were gonna get him to talk though? It looked like he tried to.
I absolutely thought when she said he couldn't speak, I thought we were about to get this is the way.
They're teasing it though, at the very least. They're teasing
massive,
us. Yeah.
Massive.
It's coming
massive.
next
season. They know
season
it's what
at
the
least.
People want for sure. They know.
But here's the thing though, the people do want it. But if that voice is memeable when they do it, they lost. They lost forever. Now Mario did survive. Mario did survive because the movie was great and everybody seemed to like it and it got away with it. But Mario did go through some fire for a little bit because of that.
It was Moff Gideon. It was Moff Gideon for a little while. For sure.
Exactly. So I'm a little worried about that with Din Grogu. But other than that.
Oh, yeah. By the way, what would you say for Din Grogu's 50-point game? Like, what was that? Like a 22-point fourth quarter?
Yeah, something
that
like
was
that.
insane.
Like LeBron's like 29 straight in 07. Oh my
God, that was as the fires were just going over. That was when he was going against the Pistons.
Yes, that's the only thing I wanted to see is that we've been talking about the big force moment for Grogu this whole time, and he's doing this fight with the Praetorians, and this was the most hilarious thing is that he was just like pushing him over just enough. Like he's just like like I have this force power. I haven't been using it in a little bit. All I could do is just like kind of inconvenience this guy who's running over it. And it worked.
He was doing like 5-pound curls. Like he wasn't like benching like 225.
And then at the end, he's like, all right, I stretched out, warmed up, and then just builds a force shield around them.
The only thing I'm disappointed that we didn't get was that he didn't like pass out completely after he stopped the fire. I mean, we only saw him kind of just be like,
well, that means he's strong now. He is.
He's getting his weight up for sure.
So, but that was
else?
cool that we finally got that payoff from Grogu. Nah, nothing else there.
No, yeah, and then you're like you said, we get the ending on the ranch. It was kind of like a reboot of the season 2 ending, because season 2 he goes off with Luke and everything, and Mando. It's kind of like, wow, Mando can go back to being a bad boy. What's going to happen with Bo-Katan? This kind of brought them all back together, rebooted that ending, and kind of now they're ready for the verse. And speaking of which,
did you like the little sitcom, like Little House on the Prairie ending? No, I hated it. I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I was like, why are we doing this right now? Why are we showing it? Like, yeah, it made me a little mad. I'm not
the Little House on the Prairie thing had the inadvertent effect of convincing me that there was going to be a post-credit scene, because it was way too hunky-dory of an ending. Like, I was totally
go through that, and you do.
I was waiting for I was waiting for our Thrawn, I'll do it myself scene after Gideon got. It was perfect timing.
Dude, the fact, like, the scene itself, the picture that it had set, I was like, this is so weird. And then when they did the little spotlight, I was like, what's happening? Like, what are they doing right now? Maybe it was they knew it was releasing the day before 420, and that was it. They were just, that was a little fun for everybody else today. That's the only thing I could think of. The only logical explanation for it, because it was so like out of character, so out of tone for everything they've ever done. It was just so weird.
So was there no spy? Like, where was the spies?
Who is the spy? I don't know. I think at this point, the spies are just the Empire spies.
Okay.
I think that the spy is, what's that girl's name?
Yeah.
In the New Republic,
the one who's in Coruscant. Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
I was a little worried they bailed on it, but I get you. That also applies. Well, again, because we were just getting crazy with some of that's like, this is like, I guess it's the equivalent of like, you're like, oh yeah, Riddle or RK Bro is gonna beat the Usos, like, like when you do that, you're like, oh yeah, Darth Maul's gonna show up, or I was basically
Crimson Dawn. I was locked in.
I was like slick predicting Wyndham with Maul coming in, but no. All right, so there's a lot of flexibility here. Now the key thing is, Mando did a lot of heavy lifting here. Mando, if there was no Mando, you might not be getting no live action Ahsoka. If there was no Mando, you might not be getting a lot of the other live action stuff greenlighted. With that said, what do you think is going to be like, how many seasons of Mando are we looking at? And what, the movie maybe like is like, what, 3 or 4 years off?
I don't know. What does the next season of Mando even look like, unless it's just a meshing of Mando and that New Republic show that they kind of bailed on? Because that's kind of what it feels like now, right?
I think that we're definitely going to get that. I think there's also, we can do some stuff with maybe them like running into like another Jedi or Force user, like, somewhere along the lines in the adventures, of course.
I really think maybe the simplest answer is that the biggest stuff is going to happen in Ahsoka for whatever is going to happen.
I think we're absolutely the fact that we didn't get Thrawn in this episode, I think was a little disappointing. I think it would have bet even money for him to be in this episode. But I think that with that, yes, it's going to be huge when he is in Ahsoka. I think that he's going to be, like at any time he's on screen, you got to be paying attention for sure, which is similar to how he was in Rebels and some of the other series. But yeah, I mean, I think we're going back to bounty hunting again. This is the thing that's kind of frustrating. This is what I thought season 3 was going to be about, like going back to bounty hunting, going back to grinding, stuff like that. Like, because Mando season 1, he was like really trying to make a living. Like he basically had he had his cruiser and not much else, and basically like was like going job to job, needed a big job, stuff like that.
So that's the growth. Now he's got a little house. Little House on the Prairie. This
episode, this series started with Mando just trying to get a nice suit of armor, basically out of Beskar, out of his coven that was like literally in the under depths of Navarro or whatever, and now they've got their own planet back. They've got property on Navarro, like they got everything.
That's all you want. It's the American dream or the Navarrian dream, I guess, whatever you want to call it.
Yes, the Navarrian dream. It'll be very interesting to see where they take it from here, but I will make one take, and I hate to say this because I did like the episode. I do think this is the weakest finale of any of the 5 between
this is the
Boba
weakest
Fett,
season.
Kenobi. All put together. I mean, again, we've talked all season. It was a 7. Most of the episodes were like 7 and a half. Like it was cool to see some things, but episode 7 was by far the best. Yep. And unfortunately in episode 8, they kind of bunkered some of the great stuff that kind of made the ending of 7 and stuff feel so impactful.
Yeah. And it's just, like I said, they tied up a lot of bows that didn't feel like they needed to really tie up yet. Like, I don't know. Like there's just like they're all kind of in one place now. It's like now you got to kickstart everybody's story again, or they're just going to now be the supporting players for whatever the Thrawn A story is going to be, and that's what Ahsoka is going to show us. And maybe they pop up here and there and there. We'll see. I think that my hope for Mando is this is their like Doc's season of the Wire. Like that's like the low point, still a pretty good season, but the low point of what will be 5 incredible seasons of a TV show. Because I still think they got that in them. Oh, we might have lost Maniac. We made it 26:49. Maybe? Nope. He's out. I don't know if there's anything left he wanted to say. I'm going to see if he texted me quick. Not yet. So let's wrap it up. Enjoy. Hope you enjoyed this What's Trainwreck Watching episode of The Mandalorian. The season 3 finale will be back this summer with Ahsoka, and I'm sure some other stuff along the way. Maniac's been dropping his Succession power rankings week by week. We'll have some Wrestling with Emotion stuff on here, so keep it locked on What's Trainwreck Watching. And remember, it's always about next week's